Journey of 1,000 miles starts with one small step, you know. When I put the helmet on and I'm riding, like for me, you have to be in the moment. And for me, it's like a defrag. That's, you know, everything else that's happening in the rest of your life has to be put on hold, and you've just got to be present. You know, ride the bike, and it is like a forced meditation almost. I was 5 years old. I had a Dex Derby, I think it was called. It was a pull start, no suspension on it, just like a lawnmower engine. I used to hammer wooden pegs into the centrifugal clutch so it would lock it up, push it down the hill and then jump on it, and then the pegs would fly off and I could ride it around. That was my introduction, and became an obsession, I guess. 19 motorcycles, and I've got 3 or 4 historic race bikes. I've got a 1977 Triumph Bonneville, a 1972 two-stroke Suzuki 250 Hustler, which was being converted into a race bike. I had a couple of old Grand Prix bikes, old 125 Grand Prix bikes that I used to race. There's several modern race bikes, R6s and things like that. Husky 310, got an XR 400, got a PE 175, 1989 GS R100 Paris Dakar, and I've just bought a Triumph Sprint ST to do a little bit more touring around Australia on the road. I bought that last night. Yesterday. Last year, I separated from my wife and was in a bit of the doldrums and didn't know really what to do. And of course, riding was something that's been, you know, I've enjoyed all my life. So I decided that I'd go for a ride. So I bought the BMW R100 in Germany, and with the help of a really good friend of mine, Stefan Kleen. He's like a brother. It's quite a rare bike in Australia, so my plan was to bring it back home and then sell it, and that would finance my trip, but I'm never going to sell it. It's just impossible. I decided that I'd go over, pick up the bike, ride these great roads, go to the TT, was at a Marshall for the TT, and then ride back, and I left my bike back at Hamburg. And this helmet was the one I was using at the time, and people that I met along the way, they signed the helmet, and I really love it. It just reminds me so much of the trip. I haven't even cleaned it, it's still got all the dead bugs on it. That trip I did probably, I think it was 9 weeks. I did over 8,000 kilometres. I did all back roads. I don't do any autobahns unless I absolutely have to. On that particular trip, I went from Hamburg up in the north of Germany and went through the Harz mountain ranges. And then I joined up with the B500 through the Black Forest. From there, I got onto the Great Alpine Way. It's just crazy beautiful. From there, I joined onto the Route Napoleon, and that was just an amazing ride. It was just beautiful. It was probably one of the highlights of my motorcycle riding. It's only about 500 kilometres, but it's just so windy and so narrow and just so scenic and beautiful. And then from there I meandered up through France, all on back roads, across to England, then across to the Isle of Man. Yeah, camping every night. There was once I had to get a bed and breakfast. I was coming through France and it was just belting down rain and I was just wet and cold. But that's where I had to meet Paulie. Yeah, he was staying at the same place. And that's kind of what adventure riding is for me, the people you meet along the way and just those little side tracks that take you into deviations. I sort of have an idea of where I want to go, but I don't necessarily have a route that I have to take. I think if you do this sort of riding, your tent, your sleeping equipment has to be really good. You've got to be able to wake up in the morning and feel refreshed. I went through Amsterdam, down through Belgium, into Luxembourg, through Switzerland, again through mostly trying to ride all back roads and Alps and whatever, you know, fun places I could find. From there I went over the Alps into Italy and down to Venice, and then I was going to hang around the Mediterranean a bit, but it was kind of all a bit too glitzy and glamorous, and I just got a bit to the shits with it, so I turned left and went up into Slovenia, into the Czech Republic, then back up into Austria. I ended up in Berlin and stayed at a hostel there with some great people and partied like it was 1999. Oh, Wolfie, my GS R100's my favourite. He's 32 years old. He rides like a brand new bike. I've now ridden him over 16,000 kilometres. He had 80,000 kilometres on him when I bought him. The only thing I've had to do to him other than services, regular services, is a little oil sensor broke. That bike was made by BMW after they won the Paris to Dakar, and it was made specifically for people who wanted to travel around the world on a motorcycle. That is my dream bike. I own my dream bike. And the plans to ride it back to Australia. I'm starting that next year. I have had quite a few injuries from motorcycles, but it wasn't from adventure riding. I've broken ankle a couple of times, rib, wrist. They were going to actually cut this hand off at one stage. The motorcycling community is really close-knit. They're great people.